All right, One Nation Senator Malcolm Roberts has made it back to Queensland before the border closes after spending the first half of the week in Canberra. He says the stimulus package is very large and complex. He joins me now and we might see if we can unpack it. Senator Roberts, what are your initial thoughts on this stimulus package? Because I know that One Nation is very much about small business. How does this play out for small business going forward with this crisis in full swing?
There are many measures in this, Peter, and what we did was we analysed the whole lot, and then we didn't agree with some of them, but in the interest of getting it through swiftly because people need support, we voted it in and we made some qualifications in our speech on Parliament on Monday evening. But we're for it overall. It's far too complex to go through. It only confused people to go through it item by item, but it does take care of, it's been well thought through, and also it does take care of many different groups of individuals, also small business. And the significant thing is that when we were questioning Senator Ann Ruston, she said that there are regulations in there, which we saw, that enable her to change things as a regulation. So they're aware, and the government's taken a very sensible approach, they're aware that they can't possibly think of everything. Our welfare system is already so damn complex that she can make changes to catch up. So people should go and have a look. If there's something missing, then let one of us know.
Malcolm, the really key part of this package, and it is a very good package, I've got to say, I've had a good look at it, it's a terrific package, but getting access quickly is the key because people are anxious. People are, incredibly challenged right now because they're losing their jobs, they're also losing other businesses, the family structure is being affected. If it's not them that's lost their business or have been unemployed, their kids are being thrown out of work. This has to be done quickly. Can they turn this around quickly?
There are ways of turning it around quickly, Peter. Yes, the answer is yes. I want to emphasise to people, all viewers, that this is a really serious situation. When I arrived in Canberra, we drove down on Sunday, and when I arrived in the shops, it was like business as usual. There are a few people with masks, but there are lots of people interacting with each other, and that's got to stop. We've got to make sure that people understand this is a really serious situation. My son came back from America based upon his early research, and he made a wise decision. And he tried to tell me how serious it was. He's pretty bright, and he's got a good head for figures and analysis. And he did his work ahead, and he looked at the intensive care unit beds in Australia and America, and he realised this was going to swamp our system. Italy's already collapsing its healthcare system because it has been swamped. What we have to understand is there are two ways of addressing this. One is through mitigation, minimising the impact and trying to balance the human safety factors and the economy. That is failing in the countries where it's been used, which is like Italy, Italy, France, Spain, America, and possibly United Kingdom. The other way is to do what the East Asian countries have done, South Korea, Japan to some extent, Singapore and Taiwan. And they have hit it really hard. And they've hit it with testing. They've got a very rigorous testing program that has a several-step screening process in it. So people, please make sure that we really get stuck into this, get into isolation, don't interact. That will hit the economy hard. Now, Peter, there is something very significant. South Korea initially went down the Italian path, was heading for disaster. They quickly recovered, quickly realised, and they swung onto virus suppression. And what they've done is institute a rigorous temperature testing program as well as a coronavirus testing program. They isolate two groups of people with the virus, naturally, and they isolate people who are vulnerable to severe complications with the virus. That means the majority of people can get back to work quickly. So they've actually, by focusing so hard on protecting human life, they have really enabled their economy to get back quickly. So that's what we've got to do. I'm a bit concerned, well, more than a bit concerned, that the government is heading down the Italian path, not realising just how serious this is. Now, that's not a criticism of the government, because the government has acted well, it's got on with the job, but there has been an absence of data. There's now data coming out from around the world, and the government needs to use that data to make better decisions in the future. So, and we all need to get behind the government. With no time for politicking, it's a time for support. We elected the government. Whether you voted Liberal or One Nation or Labor, it doesn't matter. The government was elected. Let them get on with it. That's been our approach.
Economic resilience. has been destroyed in this country. This is going to cost us a fortune to recover. Some of those big ticket items, and I'm thinking specifically about, you know, the submarines, the French submarine contract. Is there any way that we need to now have a really good look at some of the big ticket items that we've got in this country and reassess based on the fact that the coronavirus impact fiscally for this government is huge?
Peter, you're right on track. That's exactly what we need to do, and nothing should be held sacred. There's something even bigger than the submarine contract, which is $154 billion and continuing to head north. That is globalization, and especially the interdependency. Now, since World War II, we've had this crap from the UN about interdependency. That means that we are dependent on other nations. So they're saying interdependence is a wonderful concept. In theory, it is, but in practice, it's terrible. Richard Colbeck, the senator in charge, the Minister for Aged Care, he was asked a question in the Senate on Monday, and that was to do with personal protection equipment for healthcare workers. And he confessed that we've got to look at this in the future because Wuhan, the centre of the virus, is also a major player, a major supplier for personal protective equipment. We can't do things like that. We've lost our cars. We've lost so many industries. So that's the first thing. We've got to stop this interdependency, bring back our industries in this country. The second thing is we've got to stop this globalization. We've got to focus on national interest. And that's already, some people have started talking about that, as have we. We've got to focus on looking after Australia. And we've got to also look at the productive capacity of our country, get back to giving farmers back their right to use the land. And I'm advocating, as I always have, either restoration of those rights, which is what I'm in favour of, or compensation for them. Let them get on with the job. We've got to look after our water assets. We've got to invest in infrastructure, power stations, railways, ports, and water especially. We've got to get back into that, the resilience of our economy so that we can bounce back quickly. There are three factors. One is health. Second is the economy right now to support it. And the third one is getting our economy back, economic resilience and productive capacity. We've smashed them in the last 30 years. We need to restore them.
Malcolm, I can't believe we're going to the polls, Queenslanders, on Saturday to elect local government leaders, but also there's a couple of by-elections, of course, Currumbin on the Gold Coast and Bundamba here out at Ipswich. Now, you've got Sharon Bell running in Bundamba. There's a smoky tip around that she is a chance. Do you think she can get the chocolates?
We never make predictions, but we're picking up very, very strong support for Sharon. Look, she's the only local in the race. The Labor guy is a blow-in from Melbourne. He's only been here a few months, and he's only just gone to Bundamba and after arriving in Queensland a few months ago, and he's already on a $200,000 a year salary package from the Queensland government to be on one of the government's boards. And Ipswich is the focus of the corruption in local government, which is in other areas too, but it's really rife in Ipswich. And so the Labor Party has been aware of that and has suppressed it until it could do nothing else, with so many mayors convicted of serious offences, one of them in jail, so many council officers in jail. Labor Party corruption is not just in the Ipswich area, it's in other councils, but it also extends from Ipswich right through to George Street, Parliament House in the State Parliament. We need someone outside. Sharon Bell is just like Joanne Miller, who used to be chasing after that corruption to expose it. Labor Party dumped on her, bullied her, squeezed her out. Now Sharon Bell is going to hopefully come in, win that. She's got a very good chance. She's a hard worker, she's honest, and she's a tiger, just like Joanne Miller. And although the Labor Party bullied Joanne Miller, they won't bully this woman, I can tell you that, if she gets in. And there's very strong support. And so we're saying to people, vote one for Sharon Bell.
Well, Malcolm, I can't believe we're even going to the polls when you consider that, you know, we're getting messages that we should all stay at home. And here we are heading to the polls on Saturday where social distancing will just be thrown out the door. I think it's the one area where the Palaszczuk government has really, you know, buggered up in the last few days and few weeks. Malcolm, we've run out of time. Great to see you tonight. Thanks again.
Thank you, Peter.